I'm Romy, and with my husband Hugo and our cat Phoebe, for the past 2 years we've been restoring this historic townhouse in the southwest of France. So the house is about 120 square meters, which is perfect for us, and it's set within 2 gardens, this one which is north-facing, so it's cool and shady, and the back garden which is south-facing and full of sunlight. So these types of homes are called chartreuses, and they're very typical to the southwest of France. They are usually low-profile, symmetrical buildings. They were meant to be country retreats back in the day, so they were understated but still very elegant. We believe this house was built in the mid-1800s, and the rumor has it that it was built by the first violinist of the Bordeaux Orchestra, as you can tell from some of the musical details on the facade, like the violin and the lyre above the door. These little historical details are why we fell in love with this house, and we always try to preserve as many of them as possible, but it's not always easy. For example, the door was in a terrible state when we bought the house. It had been forced open, the ironwork was really rusty as well, and we met with many builders who didn't want to take the job, said it was too far gone and we should replace it, but we didn't want to do that, and we decided to wait until we found the perfect company who specialized in restoring old front doors, and they did a really beautiful job. We decided to paint the door ourselves, and we spent some time trying to find the perfect blue to match the original color, and we finally settled on this really beautiful blue called Hicks Blue by Little Green. So now let's go inside and see the rest of the house. So stepping inside, our main priority was to make sure we connect the interiors with this beautiful historic facade and essentially create a bridge between, the 19th century exterior and the life we live today. When we bought the house, this space didn't look like this at all. And on the floors, unfortunately, the previous owner had covered the original wood floors in beige tiles. We were really hoping we could do this beautiful reveal and remove the old tiles and restore the floors, but unfortunately, the wooden floors were buried under loads of concrete and were not salvageable. So we had to make a choice, and we decided to retile, removing the beige tiles and installing this beautiful checkered floor with this really, timeless border on each side. We really love it. It looks very classic, very durable, but also what's most important to us is that it does feel like it could have been here forever from the beginning of the history of this house. For the walls, we decided to install this paneling on each side, mainly because the walls were just very tall and very flat, and we wanted to create a bit more architectural interest. For the colors, we went for Wimborne white for the paneling by Farrow & Ball, and for the walls, we went for Old White, also by Farrow & Ball. This is a really, really beautiful, soft neutral. It's very warm. It changes throughout the day with the light. I really, really love it. It really creates, a very calm and warm energy to this space. And the final piece of the puzzle was the lighting. Because the walls are so tall, it can feel a little bit echoey in here or a bit cavernous. So we really wanted to find some lights that could lower the ceiling, but also create a sense of intimacy. And we were really lucky to stumble upon these antique lights at a shop in Exeter back in the UK. They are really beautiful glass pendants, slightly irregular, something that you don't really find today with modern manufacturing. And in the evening, they just recreate this beautiful glow. They're very delicate, and I think they just fit this space beautifully.
Turning right from the hallway, you enter the kitchen dining area, and this is the area which has changed probably the most in the house. Originally, we had a partition wall here where I'm standing, and a very small kitchen that was in a very terrible state with a lot of damp, mold, and really old appliances. There was actually a hole in the ceiling here because of a tree had fallen on the house. And we decided to knock down the wall here, which was a structural load-bearing wall, so we had to put in a beam to basically open this space up and make it a lot lighter. And I think we've really achieved that because it's such a really nice light space that we spend a lot of time in. As I said, the old kitchen was extremely damp and in a really bad state. So we ripped out all of the stuff here. We removed all of the old tiling, everything in place here, and decided to put in our own kitchen. We really fell in love with this inset shaker style kitchen, but it was extremely difficult to find a brand in France that we could use to have like an off-the-shelf kitchen. So we made the decision to make it ourselves. This was actually my first woodworking project for the house. I naively thought it would take, a month at tops, and it took us way, way longer than that. We are really happy with the kitchen here. It turned out really, really great, and I think it works super well this dark blue color with the rest of the room and the color on the walls and the backsplash. And talking about the backsplash, these tiles here that you can see here are a kind of crackled, mottled tile that we got from, I think, a Moroccan provider. They're handmade, and they're actually a beige color, but they reflect really nicely the green that we have around the kitchen and dining room space here, which is an Eddie from Farrow & Ball. And this color was really, really challenging to pick because we initially fell in love with a Pinterest like kind of design that had a yellow mustard color on the walls. We started painting the walls that color and realized it was not for us. It was just something way too much for us. And so we struggled for a long time kind of figuring out which color we were going to paint the room. And this Eddie color, we really love it because it is this kind of soothing, calming color that works really well with the rest of the pieces in the room, with the darker pieces. And in the dining room, we were super happy with the match that we found from the kitchen and the color of the walls to the flooring. We chose these terracotta tiles, which are handmade terracotta tiles, and they are beautiful and absolutely gorgeous in this space. They bring everything together, but they were absolute nightmare to put down. Because they're handmade, they're kind of an irregular shape, and poor Romy spent about 2 to 3 weeks tiling the floors here, and it was just an absolute labor of love. But we think it works so well now, and I'm super happy with how it turned out and makes the space a lot warmer. All of the pieces that we have in the dining room here are antique furniture pieces that we've consciously made a decision to buy so that we can ground the room in a bit more of a traditional feel to blend it with the modern feel of the kitchen and keep it in continuity with the hallway and the facade of the house. This beautiful farmhouse table we picked up from a market in Bordeaux and found the chairs as well in the same market and really add a lovely rustic feel to the space. But the piece that we loved the most and was a really amazing find is this dresser behind me. It is enormous. I think it measures about 2.5 to 3 meters long and about 2.5 meters high. So it is extremely large and was a challenge to get into the space. But this lovely dark, I think it's a teak color, is absolutely glorious, and it really adds this kind of contrast that we have from the nice green colors of the walls to this darker tones here, and it really shines in the evenings when we have dinners here. It's a really lovely piece to keep the room a bit more cozy. But moving on from the furniture, the thing I think has changed the most in this space that is really noticeable for us at least is the light, and specifically these French doors that we have here. Originally when we got to the house, this area had been completely boarded up and there was no light in this space at all. There was no windows that were letting in natural light. And so when we got these doors finally put in for the first time, it really transformed the space because it added all of this light to the area and really gave us hope of what our renovation could look like in the future. And so today it looks down onto the terrace and the outside back garden that we have, and is absolutely wonderful to just look out and enjoy the garden from the dining room space. It's probably the area that we spend the most time in the house and is one that we spend with our friends and family the most often as well.
So coming from the dining room into the living room, you go through this really beautiful archway, which was there when we bought the house, and it was one of the details that we really liked. We wanted the living room to feel a bit tucked away from the main dining room and kitchen, somewhere that can be cozy and relaxing in the evening. And to do that, we made a pretty bold choice with the wallpaper. So we settled on this William Morris wallpaper that's called Vine. We really like how it fits our British interior design aesthetic, while as well having this little nod to France and Bordeaux with the grapes. On this side, before, there was this big stone wall with a very tiny door, which was leading to a side room. This room is going to be our future pantry, so we decided to close the door because the pantry would be accessible through the kitchen, and build this really beautiful bookcase so we could create this wall of books if you want. So this was the second woodworking project from Hugo. A lot of work, as you can imagine, but I think it turned out really, really good. We really love having all these books displayed, especially with the integrated lighting. It creates this really nice glow in the evening, and I think it works really well in the room. As for the floors, just like in the hallway, it was covered in these beige tiles. The wooden floors that probably were there at the beginning were gone, but we really wanted wooden floors. It was very much part of the vision for this room, so we decided to install this new oak flooring, and we did that ourselves. I think we were feeling confident after installing the tiles in the kitchen and dining room, but this was really hard to install actually. We did the glue down method, and we were having quite a hard time figuring out the ideal drying time for the adhesive, and then as well keeping all the slats straight. So it was a bit of a stressful weekend, but in the end, again, I think it turned out beautifully. It looks really good, and more importantly, I think it looks like it could have been here forever, which was the intention. So this room is quite special to us. This was the first room that we documented the transformation on YouTube, and it was really fun to see everyone reacting to it. And also, I think it works really well. It's really fitting with the vision that we had when we started the renovation. I think it really comes to life in the evening, and Phoebe as well really loves it. She spends all her time above a radiator in a cat bed, and I think it tells a lot about how nice this room is.
Moving into the bathroom, this is another area that's changed drastically since we purchased the property. Originally, the bathroom layout was quite bizarre. We had a long bathtub here on the right hand side with a partition wall and then a separate toilet in the corner here, which was extremely small, actually so small that you couldn't really fit inside it if you were using the toilet. So we decided that we wanted to break everything down and just start again from scratch, which was very, very challenging to do because working the bathroom layout for a space like this was actually very, very challenging. It took us a lot of time to work out what we wanted in the end. But we managed to come together with something that we were really happy with, and we always really wanted to work in somehow a walk-in shower into the bathroom. And this is one of the pieces that I love in this bathroom. It is an absolute joy to use. But with the walk-in shower, what we didn't want to do was break up the room or the light in the space, because as you can tell now, it's quite a light, warm space, and we didn't want to just bring this wall all the way up to the ceiling and break that. So we came up with this idea of doing this semi-partition wall here to break down the space between the bathroom side and the shower side, and I think it works really well. And then for the rest of the room, what we wanted to do was have this high paneling, which we originally fell in love with because we saw an inspiration on Pinterest or something like that, but it also worked out very practically because the prior owner had tried to do a renovation in the attic, and he'd left a load of these pine cladding boards around, so it actually proved really useful because we basically took those from upstairs and put them down in here and then repainted them a green lichen from Farrow & Ball to keep this space a kind of calm and cool feeling, which is really soothing to use when you're in the bathroom itself. This green works really well, especially with some of the other wooden pieces that we have here, and we've got a lot of reclaimed furniture here that we wanted to put into the space, which is a darker tone of wood. And the specific piece that we did a lot of work to is the vanity here that we have. This was actually just a generic buffet that we got from another antique market, and then we reinforced and put this granite worktop and sink on ourselves. And then another amazing reclaimed piece that we have is this drying rack on the left hand side here. This was actually something a little bit controversial when we first picked it up. Romy didn't really like it initially. It was actually painted a really odd kind of orangey color, but she bared with the process, redid it and restained it this darker oaky color, and it works super well in this space. We're super happy with it, and how it turned out is just excellent. So we've still got some work to do here in the bathroom, like reworking this privacy screen behind you, which is really badly done, but was done in a very haste. But for now, we really love this space, despite the small defaults that it has now. It's a wonderful, calming room that we use every day.
Welcome to the bedroom. This is one of our latest projects in the house, and if you've been following this channel, you know that this has been quite a few months in the making. When we bought the house, this room, like many other rooms, was in a terrible state. We had a really bad damp issue in that corner of the room. There was also an interesting addition on this side here. There was some kind of like walk-in closet that had been added in the 70s. We decided to take that down because it wasn't structurally sound. So a couple months ago, we decided that it was worth investing a bit more effort into this room and make it nice. The main problem we needed to solve was the storage. This room has very high ceilings, but it's not very big, and so we could not figure out how to fit a normal wardrobe in this room without the doors of the wardrobe hitting the beds, etc. So that's why we ended up with this idea of the bed surround with the integrated headboard, and that works really well because it does free a lot of space around the bed. Hugo built the wardrobe himself, which was a very impressive project and probably the most advanced project that he's done in terms of woodworking. And while he was doing that, I repainted the room. So we went from this plain white to this warmer neutral, which is Dimity by Farrow & Ball. And then we paired that with this blue color on the wardrobe, which is Sardine by Farrow & Ball as well. The final piece of the puzzle was the fabric for these doors. We really wanted some fabric to add a bit of coziness, and we spent a lot of time debating which fabric to choose. We were very lucky to stumble upon this vintage fabric at an antique market, and I think the red works really, really well with the blue, so I'm very happy about it. And finally, it was time to dress the window a little bit, so we were sent these really lovely striped curtains by The Hughes. They're really, really beautiful, and again, I think they just tie everything together. If you do like them as well, we have a 20% discount code, and we'll put it in the description. We really enjoy now coming here in the evening and relaxing. It's a really lovely room. I think all the hard work really paid off, and I'm really, really glad we did it.
And now we've moved to the unfinished side of the house. As you can see, this room in the future will be our office space, but right now it's just a kind of miscellaneous junk area that we kind of put everything while we renovate other areas. So it looks a bit crazy at the moment. So on the stair side, what we're thinking about doing is building some big built-in cupboard space which span really the whole length of the wall and will cover everything under the stairs, giving it kind of a seamless look. And we plan to sand and refinish the stairs as well. We haven't really decided on what kind of color we're thinking about painting. We're potentially leaning into something a little bit more crazy, maybe with like a aubergine or like a darker red color. But we're not set on that. So if you have some ideas about the color scheme in this room, that would be great. It is a bit more of a north-facing room, so it does get less light than the kitchen side. So we want to kind of potentially lean into the darker feeling, or maybe do the opposite and make it more brighter and lighten it up with some more neutral colors. And on the window side, what we're thinking about doing is building 2 desks either side, one for Romy and I, which will have large bookcases encompassing the walls. In the center, what we want to do is also put like a window seat or a slightly lower seat, which we can use, but also will be primarily Phoebe, our cat's like area. Again, what we're thinking about doing is painting it that side the same color as the other side that we had with the aubergines, reds, or a similar color scheme that we want to paint both the cabinetry either side. I'm really excited to get this room done, to be honest. It's one of the rooms I'm looking most forward to renovating. We just haven't had a lot of time to do it, and also we want to tackle the upstairs first before we renovate this room, because bringing all the renovation materials through this room is going to just spoil it. So we really want to get the upstairs as finished as possible before we tackle this room. So let's go upstairs now and I'll show you what it's like up there. And now we come to the upstairs, which as you can see is extremely unfinished. It is actually quite a large space, although it doesn't look like it on film or on the camera because we have so much insulation everywhere, which we haven't put up yet. This area has kind of remained the same as it was when we first got the property. The only thing we've done up here is basically removed all the internal walls. And for those of you who've been following our channel for some time know that we have been trying to tackle the space for a decent amount of time. We actually plan to get to it this summer, but various things transpired. Romy and I actually got married, so that took up a lot of the summer planning. And then when we actually got to doing the insulation or removing it and putting up the plasterboards, it was just way too hot in here to get stuff done. So we basically put it on the back burner and tackled the bedroom instead. So if you want to find out what we do with the rest of the renovation, hit subscribe and follow along on the journey as we renovate up here, the downstairs, and add more additional bits to the outsides and the gardens. We try and make the channel as collaborative as possible and get your decision making in the renovation journey as possible. So if that interests you and you've liked what we've done so far, hit the subscribe and we will see you in the next video. Thank you very much.